Hare Krishna. Omaikyanativrandasya jnanjana shlakya sakshun militam yena tasmai shigurave namah. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pacharane Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Dasatarane. Srila Prabhupada Ki. So yesterday we heard about Lord Varadev's appearance. Because formerly Lord Brahma had created the first human beings, Svayambhavu Manu and Satarupa. And we heard about the perfect relationship between father and son, Lord Brahma instructed them. He instructed them 3 things: get qualified children, rule the world, and perform jagya. And you teach others in this way, Lord Brahma said. So after instructing them, Manu replied that yes, we are ready to execute your order, but please tell us, what is the place where we do our service? The earth is inundated in the nether regions of the Garbhadaka ocean. And then Lord Brahma thought first. And then he said, yes, what can we do? This is beyond our power. We are surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then suddenly a little small boar appeared from his nostrils and started to grow until it took a big part of the universe. And we heard that the sages of Janaloka, Tapaloka, Marloka, they recognized immediately the boar as an incarnation of the Supreme Lord. And they started to glorify him with chanting Vedic hymns. And Lord Varadev was very appreciative and roared loudly to reciprocate with their glorification. And then in one verse, a summary verse, he said how he lifted the earth from the Garbhadaka ocean and killed the demon Hiranyaksha. Of course, later Vidura will inquire about this killing of Hiranyaksha. It's only mentioned here. He will inquire about many details. So we were at text 32. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jagana Udanam Asaya Vikramam Salila Evam Migarat Ivam Vasi Tatrakta Panka Kitaganda Tundo Yata Chandendro Yatatim Vibindam. Thereupon Lord Boar killed the demon within the water, just as a lion kills an elephant. The cheeks and tongue of the Lord became smeared with the blood of the demon, just as an elephant becomes reddish from digging into the purple earth. 33. Then the Lord, playing like an elephant, suspended the earth on the edge of his curved white tusks. He assumed a bluish complexion like that of a tamal tree, and thus the sages headed by Brahma could understand him to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and offered respectful obeisance unto the Lord. So, there is a hint here in text 33 about the bluish complexion like a tamal tree. Looks like Krishna. Yeah, the same bluish complexion that text 34. All the sages uttered with, I will for here 34. All the great sages uttered with great respect, O conquerable, enjoyer of all sacrifices, all glories and victories unto you. You are moving in your form of the personified Vedas, and in the hair rolls of your body the oceans are submerged. For certain reasons, to uplift the earth, you have now assumed the form of a boar. So it is never to be misunderstood that this appearance of Varadev is to be someone other than the Supreme Lord, because it takes the form of a boar to lift the earth. So, although he has the form of a boar, the sages recognize him as a Supreme Lord. That the sages and great personalities like Brahma and other residents of the planetary system, higher planetary systems, recognized this is the Lord. So we heard before that Manu had been instructed to get children to rule according to Dharma, perform sacrifices that, of course, who is the goal of the sacrifices? So here is the goal. Varadev is the personified Vedas, the sages say. So the Lord can take any form he wants. So the Lord is the only one who can do what he really wants. It's not dependent on anyone. We cannot say that. So text 35. O Lord, your form is worshipable by performances of sacrifice, but souls who are simply miscreants are unable to see it. All the Vedic hymns, Gayatri and others, are in touch of your skin. In your bodily hairs is the kusha grass. In your eyes is the clarified butter, and in your forelegs are the 4 kinds of fruitive activities. So, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains the misunderstanding of the Veda-vadis. They see the Lord's incarnation as a hog, as anthropomorphism. That 35, yes, that's. So maybe someone can read this purport. It's on the screen, 35.
I can read, Maharaj.
Please read.
There is a class of miscreants who are known, in the words of Bhagavad Gita, as Vedavadi, or so-called strict followers of the Vedas. They do not believe in the incarnation of the Lord. What to speak of the Lord's incarnation as the worshipable hog? They describe worship of the different forms or incarnations of the Lord as anthropomorphism. In the estimation of Srimad Bhagavatam, these men are miscreants, and in Bhagavad Gita 7:15, They are called not only miscreants, but also fools and the lowest of mankind, and it is said that their knowledge has been plundered by illusion due to their atheistic temperament. For such condemned persons, the Lord's incarnation as the gigantic hog is invisible. The strict followers of the Vedas who, despite the eternal forms of the Lord, may know from Srimad Bhagavatam that such incarnations are personified forms of the Vedas. Lord Boar's skin, his eyes, and his bodily hair holes are all described here as different parts of the Vedas. He is therefore the personified form of the Vedic hymns, and specifically the Gayatri Mantra.
Anthropomorphism is projecting human behavior into animals or other life forms. That's interesting, that they do not understand how the Lord is independent and can take any form he likes, even a form of a hog, and be transcendental. So that's a misunderstanding they have. Text 36. O Lord, your tongue is a plate of sacrifice, your nostril another plate of sacrifice. In your belly is the eating plate of sacrifice, and another plate of sacrifice is the holes of your ears. In your mouth is the Brahma plate of sacrifice. Your throat is the plate of sacrifice known as Soma, and whatever you chew is known as Agni Hotra. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the performance of sacrifice mentioned in the Vedas cannot lead to results unless one observed strict regulation. All these karma kanda sacrifices, you make one error and it's not going to happen. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada said, in this age one should perform Sankirtan sacrifices. It should be rigidly followed in order to achieve the results of Jagya performance. So that is the way in this age to perform Jagya, and Srila Prabhupada repeats that again and again. Text 37. Moreover, O Lord, repetition of your appearance in the desire for all kinds of initiation. So the repetition of your appearance is the desire for all kinds of initiation. Your neck is the place for 3 desires, and your tusks are the results of initiation, and at the end of all desires. Your tongue is the prior activities of initiation. Your head is the fire without sacrifice, as well as the fire of worship. And your living forces are the aggregate of all desires. Text 38. O Lord, your semen is the sacrifice called Soma Jagya. Your growth is the ritualistic performances of the morning. Your skin and touch sensations are the 7 elements of the Agni-Stoma sacrifice. Your bodily joints are symbols of various sacrifices performed in 12 days. Therefore you are the object of all sacrifices, called Soma and Asoma, and you are bound by Jagyas. So all these Jagyas are described here Srila Prabhupada writes in the last line of the purport. But anyone who is in contact with the Supreme Lord by discharging devotional service is understood to have performed all different varieties of jagyas. So that's not for devotees. 39. O Lord, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead and are worshipable by universal prayers, Vedic hymns, and sacrificial ingredients. We offer our obeisances unto you. You can be realized by the pure mind freed from all visible and invisible material contamination. We offer our respectful obeisances to you as the Supreme Spiritual Master of Knowledge and Devotional Service. So, Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, the qualification of bhakti or devotional service to the Lord is that the devotee to be free from all material contamination and desires. So that's anya bilas, that's sunyan. So, without material desires. En sarvopadi meer vinermuktam tat parat van aannemen. Without designations. So, if one performs devotional service in that way, that's called real vairagya or renunciation, renouncement of material desires. Prabhupada writes in the purport. So one who engages in devotional service to the Lord according to the regulative principles of bhakti is automatically free from material desires. And in that pure state of mind one can realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead being situated in everyone's heart. Yes. If we are free from our misconceptions that we are the body, means free from material desires. You can say I'm not a body, but if you desire to enjoy things in this world, it's for the body. So we have to give that up. Then one comes in a pure state of mind, without contamination of the mode of passion, or goodness, or ignorance. Then one can see Krishna in the heart. The personality of Godhead being situated in everyone's heart instructs the devotee in pure devotional service so that they may ultimately achieve the association of the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada repeats that in his books again and again. It's Krishna who gives us realization through the heart if we serve him in with devotional service. That's by his mercy. So the ultimate end of all these types of sacrifices is to attain bhakti. All the other sacrifices are meant to bring us to that point, to give up material desires. Without devotional service, one cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead or his innumerable expansions of Vishnu are the only objects of worship by all Vedic rituals and sacrificial performances. Text 40. O lifter of the earth with its mountains, which you have lifted with your tusks, is situated as beautifully as a lotus flower, with leaves sustained by an infuriated elephant just coming out of the water. Quite poetic. The purport. The fortune of the earth planet is praised because of its being specifically sustained by the Lord. Its beauty is appreciated and compared to that of a lotus flower situated on the trunk of an elephant. As a lotus flower which leaves is very beautifully situated, so the world with its many beautiful mountains appeared on the tusk of the Lord Bor. That text 41. O Lord, as the peaks of great mountains become beautiful, when decorated with clouds, your transcendental body has become beautiful because of lifting the earth on the edge of your tusks. So when the Lord sustains the earth, the world, the earth becomes beautiful. As the Lord becomes more beautiful because of his pure devotee on the earth. Interesting. Text 42. O Lord, for the residential purposes of all inhabitants, both moving and non-moving, this earth is your wife, and you are the Supreme Father. We offer our spiritual obeisance to you, along with Mother Earth, in whom you have invested your own potency, just as an expert sacrificer puts fire in the Arani wood. That's 42. So, the so-called law of gravitation which sustains the earth is described herein as the potency of the Lord. We will hear about that later in the Bhagavatam also. The potency is invested by the Lord in the way that an expert sacrificial Brahmin puts fire in the Arani wood. So the Brahmins would light the fire by Arani sticks, Arani wood sticks, and would froth them together until it becomes hot and flames come. That was the sacrificial Brahmins, they knew how to do that by the potency of Vedic mantras. It was just not a mechanical thing. By the pronunciation of mantras, it would catch fire. It's quite potent. So they could control material nature with these mantras. But very potent Brahmins in that time. So by this arrangement, the world becomes habitable for both the moving and non-moving creatures. So that's by the Lord's potency. He has invested this potency in the earth. Material nature cannot produce living creatures unless in contact with the Supreme Father, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Srila Prabhupada gives an analogy. The mother cannot produce a child without a father. So the father of Mother Earth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So those who are devoted to their motherland, they don't know their father. Srila Prabhupada says, yeah. In India, Vande Mataram, worship of Mother India, but who is the father? Krishna. And interesting. Text 43. 43. A moment. Who else but you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, could deliver the earth from the water? It is not very wonderful for you, however, because you acted most wonderfully in the creation of the universe. By your energy you have created this wonderful cosmic manifestation. So, text 43. So the learned Krishna conscious person knows well that behind the cosmic manifestation is the brain of Krishna, as confirmed by Bhagavad Gita 9:10. Mayadrakshana prakatichuta chechachacham. So a devotee is not astonished to see the wonderful boar, because he knows that the Lord is able to act far more wonderfully by his potencies, which are inconceivable to the brain of even the most erudite scientist. 44. 44.
Forgot.
Seems
What's the lead of it?
there's some disturbance.
Huh? Lead of it?
Okay. O Supreme Lord, undoubtedly we are inhabitants of the most pious planets, the Jana, Tapa and Satya Lokas, but still we have been purified by the drops of water sprinkled from your shoulder hairs by shaking of your body. So that's what the Hog does sometimes shaking his body. And all the water was going up to the higher planetary systems and touched these great sages, so they were very happy. So the purport describes the purity of consciousness of the higher planetary residents, the inhabitants of Jana, Tapa and Satyaloka. So can someone read the purport of 44, which is on the screen now?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, could I read?
Yes, sure.
Thank you. Originally, the body of a hog is considered impure, but one should not consider that the hog incarnation assumed by the Lord is also impure. That form of the Lord is the personified Vedas and is transcendental. The inhabitants of Jana, Tapas and Satyalokas are the most pious persons in the material world, but because those planets are situated in the material world, there are so many material impurities there also. Therefore, when the drops of water from the tips of the Lord's shoulder hairs were sprinkled upon the bodies of the inhabitants of the higher planets, they felt purified. The Ganges water is pure because of its emanating from the toe of the Lord. And there is no difference between the water emanating from the toe and that from the tips of the hair on the shoulder of Lord Boar. They are both absolute and transcendental.
Good. Now text 45 is the last prayer of the sages of Jana, Tapa, Satyaloka, and it summarizes. 45. O Lord, there is no limit to your wonderful activities. Anyone who desires to know the limit of your activities is certainly nonsensical. Everyone in this world is conditioned by the powerful mystic potencies. Please bestow your causeless mercy upon these conditioned souls. So nonsensical, what does it mean? Nonsensical, foolish, nonsense, so mental speculators who want to understand the limit of the unlimited are certainly nonsensical, foolish. The spiritual and material worlds are both bewildered by your energies. So the spiritual and material worlds both are bewildered. Those in the spiritual world are absorbed in your loving service, forgetting themselves and you also. So they are so absorbed in service, they forget themselves, they are so fixed on the service, and they forget even that the Lord is the source of everything, that He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They see Him as friend, as lover. So that's interesting that so that's the bewildering in the spiritual world. And those in the material world are absorbed in material sense gratification and therefore also forget you. No one can know you because you are unlimited. Text 46. Maitreya Mun is speaking again. The Lord being thus worshipped by all the great sages, but seems there is a problem with the screen. I stopped sharing and I share again. Okay. So the Lord being thus worshipped by all the great sages and transcendentalists touched the earth with his hooves and placed it on the water. So Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, the tiny human brain is unable to conceive of the activities of the Lord, which are therefore called inconceivable. 47. In this manner, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, the maintainer of all living entities, raised the earth from within the water, and having placed it afloat on the water, he returned to his own abode. Purport. The Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, descends by his will to the material planets in his innumerable incarnations for particular purposes, and again he goes back to his abode. When he descends, he is called an avatar, because an avatar means one who descends. Neither the Lord himself nor his specific devotees who come to this earth are ordinary living entities like us. That's the conclusion of the purpose of Prabhupada. Now, text 48. 48 is interesting. It's called the Shrutifal, the benefit we get from hearing this chapter. So I hope you have heard with great attention, because we will hear the benefit now. If one hears and describes in a devotional attitude this auspicious narration of Lord Borg, which is worthy of description, the Lord, who is within the heart of everyone, is very pleased. So that's the Shruti vow, the result of hearing this. It will please the Lord. Srila Prabhupada in the purport writes, out of his causeless mercy only, the Lord comes to this earth and leaves behind his merciful activities so that the devotees may derive transcendental benefits by hearing this. So this here, the result is that the Lord is pleased. And what happens when the Lord is pleased? 49. Nothing remains unachieved when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with someone. By transcendental achievement, one understands everything else to be insignificant. One who engages in transcendental loving service is elevated to the highest perfection, the higher perfectional stage by the Lord himself, who is seated in everyone's heart. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada goes back again to Bhagavad Gita 10:10. Tesham satyuktam bhatsham pridurukam tadami buddhyogam tam yenam am upayantiti. he elaborates on it, and it is said, it is confirmed herein that a pure devotee who constantly engages in the loving service to the Lord is awarded all knowledge necessary to reach the supreme personality of Godhead. But the pseudo-devotee, who is anxious to achieve material gains, cannot attain the highest perfectional stage, because the Lord is in knowledge of his motive. One merely has to become sincere in his purpose, and then the Lord is there to help in every way. So, the pseudo-devotee, he does not get the supreme result because he does not desire the supreme result. He has other desires. This is the essence of Krishna consciousness in one sense, and that's the problem. That's so important. Text 50 is the last text. Who other than one who is not a human being can exist in this world and not be interested in the ultimate goal of life? Who can refuse the nectar of narrations about the personality of God, its activities, which by itself can deliver one from all material pangs? Devotional service to the Lord is the highest goal of life for every human being. And such devotional service begins by hearing about the transcendental activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Only an animal or a man who is almost an animal in behavior can refuse to take an interest in hearing the transcendental message of the Lord. Only narrations on the topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are capable of diminishing the burden of material pangs. Therefore, one who is serious about eliminating material existence must chant and hear of the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord. Now we go. This pastime is not finished. It only begins, really. We will first hear now about the appearance of Hiranyakashipu, and then the killing of Hiranyakashipu, of the appearance of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. And then we will hear about the killing of Hiranyaksha by Lord Varadev. So Vidura is not satisfied. He wants to hear more. Chapter 14, Pregnance of Diti in the evening. So Sukadev Goswami said, after hearing from the great sage Maitreya about the Lord's incarnation as Varaha, Vidura had taken a vow. He begged with folded hands to please narrate further transcendental activities of the Lord, since he, Vidura, did not feel satisfied. So Vidura desires to hear more. So Vidura will speak now. Text 2. Vidura vacha tanaivato munishvesta harina jahya murtina adidetya iranyakso hatta iti anushusrama. Shri Vidura said, O chief amongst the great sages, I have heard by disciplic succession that Hiranyaksha, the original demon, was slain by the same form of sacrifices the personality of Godhead, Lord bore. That. So Vidura wants to hear about how Hiranyaksha, how was he killed by Varadev in the Chakshusa millennium, where Varadev assumed the color red. So we will text 3 and 4. What was the reason, O Brahman, for the fight between the demon king and Lord Boar while the Lord was lifting the earth and his pastimes? Text 4. Sorry. My mind has become very inquisitive, and therefore I am not satisfied with hearing the narration of the Lord's appearance. Please therefore speak more and more to a devotee who is faithful. Purport. One who is actually faithful and inquisitive is qualified to hear the transcendental pastimes of the appearance and disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vidura was a suitable candidate to receive such transcendental messages. So that's text 5. Maitreya speaking again. The great sage Maitreya said, O warrior, the inquiry made by you is just befitting a devotee because it concerns the incarnation of the personality of Godhead. It's a source of liberation from the chain of birth and death for all those who are otherwise destined to die. So we will hear this chapter will offer important information about the dealings between men and women. It also contains important points about Lord Shiva, we will hear. So, before we continue here, I would like to go to Bhagavad Gita. I want to read about the demoniac and and the godly qualities. So, this is the first 3 verses describe divine qualities. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Abhyam Sattvasam Sudhyajnana Yoga Vyavastiti Dhanam Dan Chakya Sasvatya Staparijam Aimsa Satyamakodas Tyaga Santrapashanam Dayabhute Sadodaptam Martaram Rich Achapalam Teyaksham Titikshacham Adro Natimanita Bhavanti Sampadim Devam Apitasya Sabharata. Can someone read the translation, please?
Maharaj, I will read.
Yes, please.
Fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault-finding, compassion for all living entities, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, and freedom from envy and from the passion for an honor. These transcendental qualities, O son of earth, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. Thank you.
Okay. So these are the demoniac qualities of Hiranyaksa. Now we will read about the divine qualities. The divine are the sages that just a few verses. So this were the divine and now the qualities of Hiranyaksa. Start here. Pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. These qualities belong to the demoniac nature or son of Pritha. So, further, those who are demoniac do not know what to be done and what not to be done. Neither cleanliness nor proper behavior. No proper behavior, no truth is found in them. They say that the world is unreal with no foundation or God in control. To say it is produced of sex desire and has no other cause than lust. Following such conclusions, the demoniac are lost to themselves, who have no intelligence, engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. Taking shelter of insatiable lust and absorbed in the conceit of pride and false prestige, the demonic disillusions are always sworn to unclean work, attracted by the impermanent. They believe that to gratify the senses is the prime necessity of human civilization. Thus, until the end of life, their anxiety is immeasurable. Bound by a network of hundreds of thousands of desires and absorbed in lust and anger, they secure money by illegal means for sense gratification. So that's the mentality of a demonic person. So much health do I have today. I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, and I will increase it in the future more and more. He's my enemy, and I've killed him. And my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I am the richest man surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices. I shall give some charity, and thus I shall rejoice. In this way such persons are deluded by ignorance. So, we go back now first to the Bhagavatam, Canto 3, 14, 5. There we have the purport. So a devotee has no taste for hearing anything mundane. So sometimes people come to this movement and they read the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita and they say, oh, that's not for me. That's about war. That the topic of warfare, but the topic of warfare in which the Lord engages is not the war of death, but the war against the chain of Maya, which obliges one to accept repeated birth and death. One who takes delight in hearing the war topics of the Lord is relieved from the chains of birth and death. All who were present on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained their original spiritual existences after death. Therefore, hearing the war topics of the Lord are as good as any other devotional service, Srila Prabhupada writes. So, because we are going to hear about this battle between Varadev and Hiranyaksa, which seems a battle, a lot of violence. but the deeper meaning is here revealed by Srila Prabhupada. By hearing these topics from the great sage Narada, the son of King Uttanapa, Dhruva, was enlightened regarding the personality of Godhead, and he ascended to the abode of the Lord, placing his feet over the head of death. Can someone read the purport, please? It's on the screen. 6.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, could I
Yes,
read?
please.
While quitting his body, Maharaj Dhruva, the son of King Uttanapada, was attended by personalities like Sunanda and others, who received him in the kingdom of God. He left this world at an early age, as a young boy, although he had attained the throne of his father and had several children of his own. Because he was due to quit this world, death was waiting for him. He did not care for death, however, and even with his present body he boarded a spiritual airplane and boarded a spiritual airplane and went directly to the planet of Vishnu because of his association with the great sage Narada, who had spoken to him the narration of the pastimes of the Lord.
Thank you. So the history of the fight between the Lord and Asabor and the demon Hiranyaksha was heard by me in a year long ago, and it was described by the foremost of demigods, Brahma, when he was questioned by the other demigods. But no. Text 8. So now we come to Diti. Diti, the daughter of Daksha. Diti, daughter of Daksha, being afflicted with sex desire, begged her husband Kashyapa, the son of Marichi, to have intercourse with her in the evening in order to get a child. The sun was setting, and the sage was sitting in trance after offering oblations to the Supreme Personality of Godhead of Vishnu, whose tongue is the sacrificial fire. So, the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu includes the satisfaction of the demigods and all other living beings. Srila Prabhupada comments. Text 10. So, she's text 10, and we'll read that purport. In that place, the beautiful Diti expressed her desire, O learned one, Cupid is taking his arrows and distressing me forcibly, as an elephant troubles a banana tree. So, can someone read the purport of text 10?
I can read again, Maharaj.
Yes, please.
Beautiful Diti, seeing her husband absorbed in trance, began to speak loudly, not attempting to attract him by bodily expressions. She frankly said that her whole body was distressed by sex desire because of her husband's presence, just as a banana tree is troubled by a mad elephant. It was not natural for her to agitate her husband when he was in trance, but she could not control her strong sexual appetite. Her sex desire was like a mad elephant, and therefore it was the prime duty of her husband to give her all protection by fulfilling her desire.
Text 11. She is now going to seduce her husband. Text 11. Therefore you should be kind towards me by showing me complete mercy. I desire to have sons, and I am much distressed by seeing the opulence of my co-wives. By performing this act, you will become happy. Srila Prabhupada explains that sexual intercourse is for begetting children, and that's righteous. When it's done for sense gratification, that's unrighteous. This is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 10:28. Prajanas sasmi Kandarpa. Of causes of procreation, Krishna says, I'm Kandarpa, god of love. In the purport he writes, Kandarpa is a sex desire for presenting good sons. Therefore Kandarpa is a representative of Krishna. Sometimes sex is engaged in only for sense gratification. Such sex does not represent Krishna. But sex for generation of good children is called Kandarpa and represents Krishna. So Diti desired sons. Therefore, Kashyapa Muni was supposed to satisfy his bona fide wife. But there is more. Text 12. A woman is honored in the world by the benedictions of her husband, and a husband like you will become famous by having children because you are meant for the expansion of living entities. So, can someone read the purport of text 12, please?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Please.
According to Rishabhdeva, one should not become a father or mother unless one is confident that he can beget children whom he can deliver from the clutches of birth and death. Human life is the only opportunity to get out of the material scene, which is full of the miseries of birth, death, old age, and diseases. Every human being should be given the opportunity to take advantage of his human form of life, and a father like Kashyapa is supposed to beget good children for the purpose of liberation. Hare Krishna.
So, Srila Prabhupada is paraphrasing 5.5.18 of the teachings of Rishabhadev. Guna sasyat, vajanana sasyat, pitana sasyat, jananina sasyat, devamna tasyana patisna sasyana moksheya samupeta mrityum. One cannot deliver his dependence from the power of repeated birth and death, should never become a spiritual master, a father, a mother, or a worshipful demigods. That in the purport of that verse, Srila Prabhupada writes, unless one is a pure devotee of Krishna, he cannot save himself from the path of repeated birth and death. So that's the qualification. High qualifications to be a father or a mother. It's not easy. Text 13. In days long ago, our father, the most opulent Daksha, who was affectionate to his daughter, asked each of us separately whom we would prefer to select our husband. So, Srila Prabhupada writes in a purport, it appears from this verse that free selection of husband was allowed by the father, but not by free association. The daughters were asked separately to submit their selection of a husband who was famous for his acts and personality. The ultimate selection depended on the choice of the father. So this gives an insight in the Kshatriya culture, and also text 14 and purport gives further insights. Our well-wishing father Daksha, after knowing our intentions, handed over 13 of his daughters unto you, and since then we have all been faithful. Can someone read the purport, please?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, could I read again?
Please, yes.
Generally, the daughters were too shy to express their opinions before their father, but the father would accept the daughter's intentions through someone else, such as a grandmother to whom the grandchildren had free access. King Daksha collected the opinions of his daughters and thus handed over 13 to Kasyapa. Every one of Diti's sisters was a mother of children. Therefore, since she was equally faithful to the same husband, why should she remain without children?
So, this Kshatriya culture, the role of the grandmother here, very interesting how it went. That text 15. O lotus-eyed one, kindly bless me by fulfilling my desire. When someone is in distress, approaches a great person, his plea should never go in vain. So she's saying to her husband, this is an emergency. That there is no, and in an emergency, case of an emergency, there is no consideration of time and place. But that will be disastrous, we will see. Text 16. O hero, Diti, being thus afflicted by the condemnation of lust and therefore poor and talkative, was pacified by the son of Marichi in suitable words. So Kashyapa is the son of Marichi. So can someone read this purport, 6 of 16?
Maharaj, I'll read.
Yes, please. Thank you, Ajahn.
When a man or woman is afflicted by the lust of sex desire, it is to be understood as sinful contamination. Kashyapa was engaged in spiritual activities, but he did not have sufficient strength to refuse his wife, who was thus afflicted. He would have refused her with strong words expressing impossibility, but he was not as spiritually strong as Vidura. Vidura is addressed here as a hero because no one is stronger in self-control than a devotee of the Lord. It appears that Kashyapa was already inclined to having sexual enjoyment with his wife, and because he was not a strong man, he tried to dissuade her only by pacifying words. Thank you.
So, lust is a sinful contamination. It is that Kashyapa Muni was not spiritually strong as Vidura. Vidura was a devotee. Kashyapa Muni was a worshipper of Lord Shiva. He was also an impersonalist. Sex desire is a result of sinful reactions. And when you engage in illicit sex, then it increases sexual desire, which is the opposite of desiring to satisfy Krishna's senses. So interesting is, like Srila Prabhupada, and we will hear that tomorrow also, he will stress that unless one takes to the pure devotional service, there's no question of, unless one is completely engaged in pure devotional service, there's no question of being spiritually strong. Haridas Thakur was allured by Maya herself. She could not touch him. So Vidura was a devotee also. But Kashyapa Muni was a follower of Lord Shiva, worshipper of Lord Shiva, and he was meditating in trance on the impersonal Brahman. and he was not so spiritually strong. By that we see these processes do not really work, because, and we will hear that more in detail in the 6th canto, why. It does not take the root cause away. The root cause of the sexual desires. Only Krishna takes that away. Tesham satyuktam pachnam pridivukam dadam buddhyogantam yenam apayantite. Only he can change your desire by awarding you a higher taste, a spiritual taste of blissfully engaged in devotional service. We will discuss that tomorrow more deeply and go to the whole pastime tomorrow and hear about appearance of, or the introduction to the appearance of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakasipu. Thank you very much. Any comments, questions, please? So.
Yes, Maharaj, I was trying to understand where or how was the boar incarnation named Varaha, right? In that previous chapter, he was continuously being referred to as the boar incarnation, and then all of a sudden, I think he started being referred to as Lord Varaha. Is there any reference to that?
Well, my understanding is Varaha means boar. That's what it means.
Okay.
That
I see.
and we see many. If you've been in Vrindavan, I don't know recently, but 20 years ago, these horses, they would jump into the gutter. And if you are nearby, then you are blessed by that. It's interesting that it takes such a form. But he needed that form to do the job, to go into the nether regions of this universe. Anyway, that's the Lord's pastime. It's inconceivable. He comes out of the nose of Brahma, and Brahma says, "Oh, what's this?" That there's also some sense for humor. Thank you, Nilamani. Any other questions, please?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, can I ask a small question? Or maybe thinking this situation before Hiranyaksha's birth, actually it was the plan of the Lord also, because these demons, they had to appear and he had to fight with them, and so many events had to follow after this. So, and at the same time, deity's desire is disapproved and Kashyapa is disapproved, but actually they were following the plan of Krishna. Is it right understanding?
Yeah, these are always two things. And Lord Krishna says that in the 7th chapter. In the 7th chapter he says, I know of past, present and future. So Krishna has his plan. That yes, all these great personalities, they play a role in his plan. But Krishna is expert. He chooses those who, and they act according to their previous karma also. Krishna makes that arrangement at the same time. And that's inconceivable for us. That, but it's true that everything is going to Krishna's plan, and the conditions show that his plan in this material world, and it doesn't work out. It didn't work out. So understanding Krishna's plan, because in some sense they were situated in Krishna's plan, because Lord Brahma ordered them to procreate. So, and that was also the desire of Diti, but there was also some personal desire and some lust also. And we will see that that Kashyapa Muni was not so strong. But these pastimes are there also to teach us. They are all performing a play. So, in the Bhaktivedanta course, when we came at the end of the 12th canto, in the 12th canto, at the end of the 11th canto already, you have the disappearance of Krishna from this world. So the battle of Kurukshetra is over, everything is over, all the residents of Dvarka they are all removed, and Krishna lives. And Pujan Prabhu said, yes, Krishna's road show is over. The road show is going from one universe to another universe. And all those who had to take a play in the drama, they take off their costumes and they go with Krishna to the next universe. So that gives us a little understanding about the plan of the Lord. But at the same time, we should not think, oh, it's all the plan of the Lord. There is also the freedom of the living entity. And this pastime, it had to happen, but it shows the results of abusing our freedom. That it shows the results of worshipping someone else than Lord Krishna. Because there are so many lessons to learn. And Krishna is expert in putting that together. And we see also, we may see as he does that with these great devotees, but he does that also with us. That things happen in our life, and they may have more than one purpose: to detach us from something, and then at the same time to attach us more to Krishna. Krishna pushes him more to surrender to his mission. It's wonderful, but it's painful for us if we think it's only our plan. So that's an interesting point. Thank you for bringing that up. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Good. If you have still questions, keep them for tomorrow. If something comes up, and we will hear the rest of this pastime, a very interesting pastime, in which we will learn more about the relationship between men and women. And we will hear more tomorrow. Thank you very much. Jai Prabhupada. Hari Bol.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Recording stopped.